Second hour of our program. On the line with us is Heather Shumaker, the Director of State Abortion Access for the National Women's Law Center, NWLC.org. Heather's Twitter handle is Heather Dottie, D-O-T-T-I-E, and the organization is at NWLC. Heather, welcome to the program. What is we've kind of thoroughly aired on this program, what's going on in the previous hour, all the details of all this and where it could go and how this is probably a stage-setting move for eliminating gay rights, eliminating sodomy rights, eliminating interracial marriage rights, eliminating birth control rights. All of these things hang on the exact same hook that Alito is using to end abortion rights. But all that said, this is going to, and explicitly says in this decision, toss this to the states. And you're the person in charge of state abortion access. What's going on in the states?
Well, that's quite a setup.
Feel free to comment on any of it. Go for it. It's all yours.
Well, shout out to the folks who are on the ground in the states doing the hard work. I get to sit in D.C. and have the state abortion access in my title, but shout out to those folks who do the hard work every day. They're the reason that, people, despite this leaked opinion, can get their abortions today, can get their abortions tomorrow, and will be fighting day in and day out to ensure that's the case. But you're right. If this leaked opinion does ring true, we will see this all back to the states again, and we know we have some taste of that over the last decade or decades by the way that state legislatures have been chipping away at folks' access. But we will really see a new moment once this decision, if it becomes reality.
Where to begin with this?
I know.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
There is, one of the things that could blow up any effort on the part of states, Connecticut, for example, it passed their House 2 weeks ago, it passed their Senate last Friday. I don't know if Governor Lamont has signed it yet or not, but Connecticut has legislation that makes it the first, essentially, fugitive woman state. And a place where, kind of the opposite of the Fugitive Slave Act, a place where women cannot be pursued and judgments cannot, Texas can't go after $10,000 from a Texas woman who flees to Connecticut. That's great, and other states, other blue states will probably be emulating that. But you've got numerous Republicans in the House and Senate who are saying, okay, now that we've got this, let's pass a nationwide ban on abortion and criminalize abortion all across the United States, which of course blows up Connecticut, blows up the handful of states that have the right to abortion already enshrined in their constitutions. What do we do about this? Where is this at?
There's a lot to unpack there. So, shout out to the Connecticut's and the other states that are doing what they can to ensure that folks have access. The provisions that are moving in Connecticut, which I think you're right, I don't think the governor has yet signed that bill package, but that would create some safe haven for the providers specifically to avoid being pulled back to the state that feels that they have some sort of tie to prosecuting a provider. In the SB 8 Texas-style law, it specifically carves out the person who had the abortion from civil liability. But, we know that the folks who have abortions and become pregnant have been prosecuted for their pregnancy outcomes regardless, and we're going to see more of that regardless of what the good efforts that states take. But to your point about a national ban, I guess I'm not quite sure how far they are in that process. I think it's a piece of this long-term plan to end abortion access, but even without that, more than half the states are poised to essentially ban abortion if they are allowed to at the state level. And certainly that's where the action has been for at least the last decade in terms of whether your state makes abortion accessible or not.
This is the 26 Republican-controlled states, essentially, right? Or is my number
Yes.
wrong? Yeah. And so I know a number of them. I thought it was like 13 that had trigger laws already in place, but I saw 20 in the press the other day. But isn't it safe to assume that between now and June or July, when this decision actually gets handed down, and it may be tweaked, but it's unlikely it's going to be substantially changed, isn't it safe to assume that by that time, pretty much every Republican-controlled state in the union will have criminalized abortion, and the excuse that they'll be using will be, well, you know, women can still get abortions. They can always, you know, hop on a plane and go to California.
I mean, if not before we get a decision in this case, you know, I think we could anticipate lawmakers calling for special sessions over the summer. You know, we've seen states do that in the past.
Sure.
And declare this to be some sort of emergency, which it is an emergency, just in the opposite direction for access to basic health care. So, yeah, I think I'm not totally sure if we'll see folks saying that, you know, you can hop on a plane and go to another state, because I think that goes beyond what their purpose is too, right? Like, we've seen states like Missouri trying to put in place laws that would prevent folks from leaving the state to get care, right? Right. You know, already in Texas, we see that young people in particular have a really hard time leaving the state. People who are undocumented have a really hard time leaving the state, even though theoretically that is possible for some folks.
Yeah, girls under 18 who may not have a driver's license, unless a parent is going to accompany them or somebody's going to accompany them, it's going to be a real challenge. Right. This is nuts. What is happening in the blue? So we've kind of covered here what's going on in the red states. What's happening in the blue states with regard to this?
Yeah, I think a lot of blue states are doing the best that they can to pass the types of laws that will ensure that they can take as many folks as they can that need access to abortion. And so that can be everything from, you know, getting rid of restrictions that are on the books. Thinking about Maryland as an example, up until very recently, they had a law that required that abortions be only provided by physicians, which is medically unnecessary. And they have expanded that to include advanced practice clinicians to be able to provide abortions now, which can greatly expand the scope of who can provide abortions, and just setting the stage for the folks that we assume will go to Maryland for their procedures. And then states like California, you know, they came out with a whole host of ideas of how they could improve access, including a fund for folks seeking care, coming from out of state to seek care in their state, a website that really helps people navigate the process, things like that. So I'd say repealing the restrictions that are on the books, and then also doing things to welcome folks who are going to inevitably be coming to their state. Yeah,
it's an extraordinary moment in history. Heather, what advice do you have for, you know, outside of going to NWLC.org, the National Women's Law Center, and signing up and helping out, which I strongly recommend. Outside of that, what action steps should people of goodwill or people who are concerned about the rights of women, and frankly, this larger frame, that this is probably just the beginning of a larger attack on a whole spectrum of rights for basically non-racial minorities. What can people do? Seems to me like voting is at the top of that list, right?
I mean, it feels pretty hopeless right now, but I think there are actually a lot of things that folks can do. Yeah, voting would be one of them. You know, we're in this place because extremists are on the court and are in all of our courts and in the legislatures, right? So calling them to let them know what you think of what they're doing. Call your local lawmaker, call your state representative, call them and tell them what you want them to be focused on. Show up to the actions that are starting to happen already. You know, folks are rallied in front of the Supreme Court right now. There is a big rally starting at 5 p.m. There are similar rallies across the nation at federal courthouses and local courthouses. Show up and be there, and don't allow this moment to happen quietly. It might feel hopeless, but I think that we need to be a strong opposing voice to this time.
Yeah. Whoop. I'm sorry, Heather. I just hit the wrong button. And let me get you back here. My apologies. I accidentally leaned on the button there and cut you off. So,
No worries.
Basically get out there, get active, get political. This is a political problem that's going to be solved through politics.
Yes, but I think also destigmatize abortion. It's hard to take advantage of something that's not shameful to folks.
There you go. So yeah, tell your stories, or just acknowledge the reality of this horrible moment, and the difficult choices that are associated with abortion, and that those choices should be a woman's choice, not anybody else's. Heather, thank you so much.
Absolutely.